who asked her priest to forgive her because she committed the sin of having too much pride, and she tended to look in the mirror and say to herself that she was very, very beautiful. The priest said, "Madam, I'm sorry. It's not a sin, it's a mistake." You know, there's absolutely no shortage of sin in the world today. It seems to me that years ago I heard an awful lot about the dangers of sin, yet I didn't see too much of it, whereas nowadays I see sin just about everywhere I look, but I don't hear so much about it. I suppose that times have changed rather significantly, and I believe that's what Paul is alluding to in today's epistle lesson. Now, when Paul wrote this epistle to the Romans, he was writing to a church that was in trouble. Understand that during the reign of Claudius, around 41 to 54 AD, the emperor had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. And so what was left was a Gentile church that simply drifted further and further away from any kind of Jewish influence. So by the time Romans was written, which was somewhere around 57 AD, the Jews that returned to a mostly Gentile church. Obviously, it was culture shock for them. And that created this environment that Paul talks about in his Roman letter. There were, of course, growing cultural differences between Jewish and Gentile congregations in Rome. These were leading to conflict. And Paul was trying to get both parties to understand that the Jews and the Gentiles were actually both in the same condition, with no hope other than Jesus Christ. So Paul opened up his heart as he shared his concern for the salvation of Israel, and he turned to more practical matters, a nation, you see, that was on the brink of destruction. At the time of Paul's writing, half the population of Rome consisted of slaves. The larger part of the remainder consisted of very poor citizens supported in their idleness, if that sounds familiar, by a miserable system of public gratuities. In essence, it was one of the first welfare systems in the world. There appears to have been little, if any, middle class. There was no free industrial population. And side by side with the wretched classes that before was a comparatively small body of very wealthy nobility whose luxury and either a lack of moral judgment or any kinds of legal restraints were just completely rampant. Their society was marked by a complete disregard for strict rules of correctness, and especially I must say, any form of sexual repression. Rome was rife with prostitution, homosexuality, murder, robbery, and all the other forms of sinful behavior. It was the beginning of the end for the Roman Empire. In 1776, Edward Gibbon began the first of 6 volumes dedicated to the history of the Roman Empire and its long fall. And in his books titled The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Gibbon lists 5 basic reasons why that great civilization withered and died. First of all, he said the rapid increase of divorce, the undermining of dignity and sanctity of the home, which is the basis of human society. Secondly, he said higher and higher taxes and the spending of public monies for free bread and circuses for the populace. Thirdly, he said the mad craze for pleasure, sports becoming every year more exciting and more brutal. Again, the building of gigantic armaments when the real threat was from within, meaning the decadence of the people. And finally, he said the decay of religion, faith, which disappeared into some mere form, losing touch with life and becoming impotent and worn guide the people. You know, one of the greatest tragedies in American society today isn't slavery, but the breakdown of the family, which is an indicator of a declining sense of civilization. Even before the cultural decay was apparent, a man by the name of Dr. Carl Zimmerman wrote a book in 1947, if you will, called Family and Civilization. He reviewed the decline of the nation as he saw it, and he noted the characteristics that he believed contributed to the decline of the family and to our civilization. First of all, he said, marriage is losing its sacredness and is frequently broken by divorce. Remember, this is 1947. Secondly, he said, traditional meaning of the marriage ceremony is lost. Various extravagant celebrations versus a religious sacrament. Thirdly, he said, feminist movements abound. Fourth, increased public disrespect for parents and authority in general. Against acceleration of juvenile delinquency, promiscuity, and rebellion. Refusal of people with traditional marriages to accept family responsibilities. A growing desire for an acceptance of adultery, and increasing interest in the spread of sexual perversion and sex-related crimes. Does this sound familiar? It's the same thing you read about in the television, in the newspapers, and see in the television news day after day. Many people today believe that the decline of America has begun. And so we have to ask ourselves, just how did that happen? We know for sure that when constructive, productive, traditional values lose their dominance and perversion of any kind seeps into mainstream, cultural rot has begun. You know, I, along with many of you, I'm sure, when I was in grade school, the Bible was read each day, prayers were said. Today, the Bible and prayer are no longer legal, and the practice of saying yes, sir, and no, ma'am is largely forgotten. Our children are lectured in taxpayer-supported schools that the deviance of homosexuality is normal. In the midst of this chaos, the homosexual community are attempting to destroy the foundation of the family by rendering the concept of marriage meaningless. We know that the friendly and open acceptance of gays into some Main Street religious denominations is weakening the sanctity of the church. Homosexual marriages are becoming more and more common, and the gay force is pushing for adoptive rights for gay couples. Paul tells us in the 3rd chapter of 2 Timothy this: one of the outstanding signs of the end of this, the people will be without natural affection. Today, this prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. And the end result of this is what? In the epistle lesson from Paul today, it tells us is death. The wages of sin, Paul tells us, is death. Now bear in mind, in 1776 through 1788, when Gibbon wrote his books about the decline of the Roman Empire, there was no electricity, no airplanes, no radio or television broadcast. And when Zimmerman wrote his analysis of our civilization in 1947, he certainly had never experienced the influence of television, had never had observed space travel or conceived of the vast ramifications of the internet. And yet, while science and technology have provided great progress in just almost every area of human behavior, morality and social behavior has plummeted down and down and down, exactly as predicted. It's almost as if someone had written a script for a Broadway play. Now look for just a moment at what Gibbon's projections meant and why they become so real. First of all, he wrote that the rapid increase of divorce would eventually undermine the institution of the family. I understand the ramifications of divorce. I've been through that experience myself. It's a complicated matter, but nowadays it's a matter of convenience. You know, you have one partner for a time, you don't like him or her, and cast them off and go on to the next partner. So the family unit, this idea of having traditional families who stay together, and play together, and work together, that family unit, the vehicle that was so necessary for the survival of civilization, has just completely gone away. Bible believers have always thought that the importance of the home was a great part of God's plan for mankind. And the forces of humanism and secularism in America have launched an all-out offense against the traditional institution of the home. Record numbers of men and women now live together without a legal marriage contract, and while thousands upon thousands of children are born year after year out of wedlock, the number of latchkey kids, as they were so described, has practically reached the point of becoming unmanageable. Gibbon also wrote that another cause of the fall of the Roman Empire was higher and higher taxes and spending of public monies for free bread and for entertainment for the population. Well, that's how the Roman government controlled a population that was mostly slaves and unemployed immigrants. You know, we give away an awful lot of free bread in this country today, and it's going to get worse if responsible people don't stand up and be accountable. No serious Christian should be against helping those who can't help for themselves, but unfortunately our government has made it far more attractive to sit at home and watch Oprah than it is to have a job and take care of yourself and your family. When the Apostle Paul heard that certain unemployed busybodies were disrupting the church at Thessalonica, he was quick to give his appraisal of the situation. He said, "For when we were with you, this we commanded, that if any would not work, neither should he eat." The Bible teaches us that industry, creativity, and hard, honest work should be encouraged and richly rewarded. And slothfulness, laziness, and neglect, however, are condemned by the Word of God. Gibbon also wrote, and I found this very interesting, that the mad craze for pleasure and sports was becoming often more exciting and more brutal. You know, Americans nowadays in huge numbers watch television as race cars or run around a track, an oval track at over 100 miles an hour, hoping for a pileup that would ensure a big brawl. Professional boxing, especially the kickboxing that's so important, so popular nowadays, draw huge numbers of exuberant fans. And all of us are guilty. I'm probably one of the greatest college football fans around. We watch on Saturday afternoon the 300-pound giants in shoulder pads disguised as college students entertain us on Saturday afternoons, and other times 7-foot goons race up and down a basketball court under the same guise. And as a result of that, we pay professional athletes 10 times, 100 times more than the average school teacher. Now, friends, I think that says something about our priorities as a nation. Pleasure-crazy people. And as far as the building of gigantic armaments when the real enemy was within is concerned, I believe that most people want our nation to be secured. We do have to learn that we can't completely police the universe. Sometimes we might be better off to think about securing our western borders from illegal immigrants and to find some way to control the ridiculous and irresponsible government spending that creates boondoggles such as $435 hammers and $640 toilet seats. The real danger that we face is from within. Karl Marx predicted this years and years ago. And finally, given stakes, and I think this is important for us to remember, that the decay of religion, where faith passes into mere form and loses touch with becoming impotent as far as warning and guiding people, is a sure sign of decline and decay. While recognizing decay of religion in America is all too easy, great denominations founded in post-Reformation days by fiery, uncompromising, Bible-believing men have long since given away to the darkest depths of heresy. Educational systems, institutions like Harvard and Princeton and Yale, which were really built by God-fearing people for the purpose of training young men to be ministers of the gospel of Jesus Christ, have now become bastions of liberal theology and humanistic unbelief. The prophecy from Jude that in the last time there would appear doubters who would deny and disdain the faith which was once delivered unto the saints has truly come to pass in our later generation. Where do we go from here? Paul gives us the answer in today's epistle lesson. He says, the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. And somehow or another, we have to get people in America to understand this. Somewhere or another, the American people have got to return to the value system that was taught to us by our forefathers, and that includes teaching children to respect and obey. Americans have to understand that we must teach young people what a sense of morality is all about. Now, I'm very concerned this past weekend to read about 2 places in our nation where mad people killed innocent people. I would be interested in knowing just what kind of parental influence those murderers came from. It's important as parents to be teachers of morality to their children. If we really want to change our nation, we are going to have to do that by standing on a moral ground. If you believe in America, stand up for it. If you believe in God and Jesus Christ, speak out. If you want things to change, then get active. And if you want a real revival, then pray for it. God will not save America if America doesn't want to be saved. If we continue along the same path as the one we're on today, the wages of our sins will end up in a terrible death. Our mission as Christians is to make this message known and to uphold the belief that for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved.